We talk all the time about intangibles in sports. The players who see the field differently, have the IQ, the grit. Many of these traits are hard to spot for the layman, but the one intangible that cannot be ignored, my personal favorite, is intimidation, or the ability to strike legitimate blood-curdling fear into the heart of the opponent. Intimidation plays an especially huge role in baseball. Anybody who's played will tell you that. It's a team sport, sure, but the core of it centers on the one-on-one battle between pitcher and hitter, and reputation from both sides is key. The art of intimidation can dictate an at-bat, change where fielders are positioned, and even alter how a manager chooses to manage a game. As we all know, some hitters are more intimidating than others, and in today's video, I wanted to use data to find the most and least intimidating active hitters, because I am a damn dirty nerd who is nothing without his precious numbers and decimals. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it. So the starting point for my experiment is the 2024 season going up to the 2026 season so far. And I'm only including hitters who've accumulated over 750 plate appearances, essentially a full season plus a half month's worth of games in this time frame. Unfortunately, this leaves off players such as Ronald Acuna Jr., Nicholas Kurtz, and Caleb Durbin. But fear not, if this video does well, say it gets, 2,000 likes, I will 100% make one next year, and barring disaster, all 3 players et al. Will be on it. So let's figure out what it takes to be an intimidating presence in the batter's box. First ingredient is, well, to be physically menacing. The beauty of hitters, just like the Jedi in Star Wars, is that this crude physical matter doesn't have to determine the ability of the fighter. But if I'm a Jedi stepping into the ring, I think I'd rather see Ki-Adi-Mundi on the other side than, say, Darth Vader. If I'm a pitcher, even if the hitter by law must stand at least 60 feet and 6 inches away from me, I feel safer if my opponent's shadow isn't showing me what time it is. The league has yet to release advanced medical data for their players. Damn HIPAA. So height and weight is all we have to work with. Second direction on the path to intimidation is making the opposition stay alert. It's one thing for a player to have good numbers. If they hit a home run against you, you may be hurt emotionally, but at least you and your defenders are in one piece physically. I wanted to find each hitter's atom ball percentage, or the percentage of balls crushed either right to the pitcher or an infielder. It's not an exact science, but I did this by looking up the percentage of pitches that result in a 95 plus mile per hour batted ball between 3 and 11 degrees. The third step to intimidating the competition is to make the at-bat as difficult as possible for the pitcher. This one might be controversial, but I believe truly intimidating hitters don't swing at a pitcher's best pitches. They don't even necessarily swing at their worst pitches either. They just swing at the ones that they know they can do the most damage on. I use shadow swing rates. Basically, the shadow surrounds the edges of the strike zone. Like a real shadow. It's the only attack zone that goes both in and out of the strike zone itself. Pitchers want to live in this area, but hitters who don't follow them into the dark strike the most fear, in my opinion at least. You can disagree in the comments. I also added lowest outside swing percentage. The most intimidating hitters don't chase for nobody. The fourth reel is being a hitter who the pitcher wants to see the least in a tight situation. Basically the clutch gene. I only chose 2 measures specifically, even though I probably could have chosen more. First one is slugging in high leverage situations according to Baseball Reference, and the second is OPS with the bases loaded, the most claustrophobic position to be in all of sports. I want to find which hitters are making pitchers pay the most here. Then we have all the numbers you'd expect. This is where rubber meets the road, the ball don't lie portion. Intimidating hitters knock the crap out of the baseball. So we got hard hit percentage, 90th percentile exit velocity, average homer distance, and max exit velo. I actually used to overlook max exit velo, but changed my position when my messiah, Eno Saris, said to think of it like a hitter's power meter when it's fully maxed out. Basically think of it as their full potential. There is a stark difference between facing a guy whose highest exit velo is 110 miles per hour and one whose highest is 117. Final data point is the ball player don't lie. Intimidating hitters draw intentional walks. In some cases, teams would rather not even put their pitcher through that trauma. I kept this one weighted low because there are external factors outside of intimidation that influence this number, such as depth of lineup and situational decisions made by the opponent. But we are all thinking about that one time Barry Bonds got intentionally walked with the bases loaded against the Diamondbacks as the pinnacle of intimidation. Ball players don't lie. I guess unless their name is Barry Bonds. He's definitely lied a couple times. So typically for lunchtime videos, I rank each player for every category. The idea is that I'm doing math that could be performed on a bar napkin, just like how the original point system in NASCAR was born. But this time, I decided, you know what? I'm a grown man. I should use a grown-up system. So I normalized all the metrics before assigning a weight and adding them up to get the final intimidation score, or the HIS. You could probably guess what the pitcher intimidation score is going to be called. Scrolling across your screen now is the justification for all the weights I used. Pause if you'd like, but most of you probably think it's a bunch of boring bullcrap. Also, the entire list and spreadsheet are available on my Patreon. The pitcher's video is already done, but won't be released until June. But, you guessed it, it's available to all paid Patreon members right now. As always, this list and methodology will get you laughed out of even a community college, but will make you the king of your local Waffle House. Alright. Here are the results. We'll start with the 3 least intimidating hitters in all of baseball. The 3rd least intimidating hitter in baseball is Osheino Albies, who also goes by Ozzy sometimes. I hate that he's on here, but his diminutive height already puts him at a disadvantage. In addition to that, he's just so friendly. He doesn't strike fear, he strikes positivity into the hearts of the opponent. He'll still crush you, sure, but he's a hard guy to root against, even when he is. Now, to defend my man's honor, I do have to emphasize that the data we are looking at starts in 2024 to roughly the first month of 2026. Not exactly the best stretch of Albie's career, especially when it comes to the batted ball data. If I were to do this video again next season, with the way Ozzy is currently hitting, I'm willing to bet he'd be well off this list. Or maybe not. I would like to personally congratulate the Kwan family for giving us the 2nd least intimidating hitter in baseball. Just a reminder to everyone, intimidation and production aren't linear. It's not the point of this video. You can be a dog with all bark and no bite, or you can, as my friend Zach, the baseball rat, puts it, have that dog in you, even if it's a sweet little puppy. Stephen Kwan definitely has that dog in him. If you're in the infield when he's up, you can probably get away with leaving your glove in the dugout if protecting yourself was the only priority. He's good in the zone, but pitchers will see this as being more pesky than intimidating. The least intimidating hitter in baseball is Adam Frazier. He's going to reach 10 years of service time this season, and God bless him for that. He'll join an exclusive list of players, receive lifetime pensions, and get a special shout out from the Players Union. What he won't receive, however, is any more respect from pitchers. Look, all I'm saying is that if you ran an anonymous players poll, kind of like what The Athletic did a few years ago when trying to find the most overrated player, I'm willing to bet he'd be a lock for top 5 least intimidating hitters to face, if people remember who he even is. And according to my data, he's number 1 by a long shot. Alright, now onto the main event. Let's reveal the 10 most intimidating hitters in baseball right now. This is a rough start for the list. I'll grant you that. Christian Yelich comes in at number 10. The issue? He's too pretty. When we're describing intimidating hitters, we tend to use words like gruff, snarling, and filthy. Well, these are also words that can be used to describe someone who's ugly. I'm not saying you have to be ugly to be intimidating, but it certainly helps. I think back to the scene in 25th Hour when Ed Norton's character asks his friend to beat him up because he's too pretty to go to jail. But I tend to think there's different styles of intimidation. Sure, there's the one we're all thinking of, but there's also the guy who has it all. The looks, the height, and the ability. The Gastones of the world. When Christian Yelich comes up to the plate with the bases loaded, he's not thinking about how the pitcher is going to attack him, he's thinking about his reservation at Sanford afterwards. Pitchers can't even try to picture him in his underwear because Christian Yelich already beat them to the punch. He's perfect and he knows it. This is what I'm talking about. The incident in question didn't even happen within the time frame I'm using, but do you all remember when Joe Madden and the Angels intentionally walked Corey Seager with the bases loaded? Seager steps into the box nonchalantly. He doesn't swing a huge bat, but he doesn't need to. A pitcher knows that even in the best case scenario, they're in for a long battle whenever Seager comes up to the plate. You aren't playing by your terms anymore. You're playing by his. You try to hip shot him with a sinker, but he barely reacts. You counter with a fastball that you know is a mistake out of the hand, He swings at it, but luckily only fouls the pitch off. You throw him a knuckle curve up in the zone that neither knuckles nor curves. 2-1 count. You release a 98-mile-per-hour fastball that couldn't be located any better even if you ran it to the plate yourself. Seager fouls it off somehow. You try to throw a nasty curveball, but the sweat that accumulated on your hands within 3 seconds of wiping them off messes with your grip. Out of options, you go back to the fastball. You get the same feeling you had with the one that wound up down the middle, and this time, Seager doesn't miss. And with that, he turns a 1-run lead into a 2-run deficit. That's the Corey Seager experience in a nutshell. Oneil Cruz proved to the world what a scary dude he was during the home run derby last year. I should know, I was there in person. He hit it to parts of Truist Park that previously I never thought possible. His game relies on chaos and being unpredictable. 1 second, he's shooting a 120-mile-per-hour missile through the walls of PNC. Next second, he's swinging through a 92-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle. In my mind, this makes him even more terrifying. The biggest fear is the unknown, and that's the only state Oneil Cruz operates in. His 122.9 max exit velo is the highest in the StatCast era. Let me repeat, Oneil Cruz owns the hardest hit ball since we started keeping track of this stuff. Yet, his career high WRC plus is only 110, lower than the career high for players such as TJ Friedel, Jake Cronenworth, and JP Crawford. He's the villain who works in the background, whose next move is more vexing than the previous. He's kind of like MF Doom, but instead of being a 5'8" dude from London, he's a 6'7" guy from the DR. Rafael Devers had to earn this spot at number 7. Not many players enter the league at 20 years old. The ones who do either look like they should have been there sooner, or like a lost child who got rejected by their idol. Devers looked a bit like someone told him to beat it, but he used that as a motivator. He started pulling his foot back in his stance until it looked like he was trying to take up the entire batter's box, telling the pitcher, "Hey, this is my domain. If you want to come in, you're going to have to knock first." He'll lurk in the shadows, but only because he knows it'll scare the pitcher more. What he lacks in height, he makes up for in girth. What he lacks in discipline, he makes up for in pop. All I know is that you need to get the hell off the mound if you've got feathers on your butt when Raffy steps up to the plate. At number 6, we have James Wood. James Wood is that guy from the Boondock Saints, the one who the gang tracks down just before they get hit by El Duce. You know, the billiard scene, the one that happens just before the great, "There was a firefight." He shows zero emotion, zero reaction to his environment. You don't know what he's feeling, if he's got a read on you, or if he's completely lost. That's a scary place to be in while facing him. Play a game with your friends. Collect 10 random screenshots of James Wood. Crop them so you only see his expression. And ask them whether James Wood just did something good or something bad in each. Even with the 50-50 shot, I bet you they're going to get less than 30% of them correct. He's just stone cold. He's also a 6'6" mammoth who hits the ball just as hard as anybody in the league, so that's probably why he's here. Juan Soto comes in at number 5. Pitchers can learn a lot about themselves when facing Juan Soto. He's just the perfect foil to whoever he's pitted against. He treats every at-bat like a chess match, and he gives instant feedback to his opponent. He dances around the batter's box when he knows all their tricks, but he'll also give a courtesy nod when he gets bested. He's the respectful villain, the one who slow claps when the final plan is revealed. He's seen and done it all, and yet somehow he's still only 27 years old. Imagine being a recent call-up facing this guy. I mean, Soto was one-upping 3 future Hall of Famers in the World Series at 21 years old. He was being compared to Ted Williams at 23. And now you, fresh-faced from AA, dropped off at the stadium by your mom, have the task of getting him out. He doesn't chase. Your best pitch, the one that got you through the minor leagues, yeah, he can see it from a mile away. And if he makes contact, it's a coin flip whether or not that ball does damage before you even finish your follow-through. Good luck, buddy. At number 4, we have the guy who everyone thought would be number 2 behind the guy who's going to be obviously number 1, Yordan Alvarez. In my Dick Allen video, I made the claim that Yordan Alvarez was the scariest hitter in baseball. Not necessarily the best, but the one whose combination of stature, approach, and firepower was the most frightening for pitchers to encounter. I got quite a bit of flack for making that claim, and now I finally see the light. He's only the 4th scariest hitter in baseball, so I apologize for those heinous comments. Now, in my defense, Yordan suffers a bit from down seasons in 2024 and an injury-riddled 2025, where he was only 4th in WRC Plus during that time. Nah, I think the way Yordan is swinging it so far in 26, he could easily crack the top 3 next year, maybe even number 1. He's stone cold like wood, yet he somehow harnesses even more power. He walks into a room and you can hear the combined gulp. I might do this video next year just for the sole purpose of showing the world how intimidating this man really is at the plate when healthy. Getting the top 3 started, we have Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani suffers from the same issue as Yelich in that he's too classically hot to be seen as classically intimidating. Ohtani is like the twist villain though. He's a friendly at first. A very strong ally at that. So strong that you couldn't imagine where you'd be without him. You see his might up close and personal. It's stunning. How can someone this impressive even exist? He's not real. Well, turns out you were right. Partially. He eventually reveals his true motives. Whether he was a good soul compromised or a bad soul from the start is left ambiguous. That ambiguity eats at you. He's still got redeeming features. He's not hitting the ball right at you or your defenders. That's because it's beneath him. He's too busy figuring out how far a human can hit a baseball. Who knows? Maybe he isn't a human, but an alien who views us as pets sent to conquer our galaxy. Ohtani offers something even worse than fear. He offers you dread. If you can't trust even your biggest allies, then who can you trust? All right, I'm going to try to get the pronunciation right this time. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is big. He's clutch. And he hits the ball hard. Not doing that last one. His biggest criticism so far is his inability to consistently lift the ball. You know who wouldn't mind him shoring up that part of his game? Opposing infields. They cannot take a single pitch off unless they're wearing a catcher's mask out there. We talk about pitchers being headhunters. Well, Manny Vladito might be the first hitter headhunter. Like he's fulfilling a bounty. He might be walking in the shadow of his father, but his father might be long forgotten once the ink is dried on Junior's career. I'm comparing him to Boba Fett, by the way, if it's not obvious so far. He's one of the best players when he steps on the field, and he knows it. The air just feels a little bit different whenever Vlad is around. And unlike Boba, Guerrero actually does show up when the moment calls for it. At number 1, I mean, it's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge at number 1, folks. He's the reason I almost didn't do this video. Not only is he by far the most physically imposing player in baseball, he's also arguably the greatest right-handed hitter of all time. It made this whole list feel like a march towards the inevitable. But that's kind of the beauty of it, right? How obvious it was that he was going to be here. And it's not even close. The difference between him and Vlad is the same between Vlad and Keibert Ruiz. You could stretch and manipulate these numbers all you want. Aaron Judge will find himself at the top. If a genie approached me and granted me 3 wishes, my first wish would be, well, it'd be like $50 million. I think that's enough for me to live on without being like too obnoxious about it. But my second wish would be that we had the same kind of data we have now for when players like Albert Pujols, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Harmon Killebrew, Hank Aaron, and Ted Williams were in their prime, just to see how far above their peers they would rank. But let's say the tech we have access to now was 50 years behind schedule. It's 2076. StatCast just turned 11. We'd be grouping Aaron Judge in that same conversation. So instead of complaining that number 1 on this list was all but written, let's take a moment to appreciate a generational talent while he's still here. So what did you think of this list? Who is your favorite movie villain? As stated previously, the full list is on Patreon, but I will respond to a few comments asking where certain players rank. Thank you, and I will see you all next time.